Have you ever watched someone's dream break in a single night? Not slowly, not over years, just one moment, one truth, one heartbreak that shatters everything they believed about love. Because sometimes the most painful thing in life isn't poverty, it's believing someone will protect your heart and realizing they never intended to. Let me tell you about a girl from Georgia. Not the glamorous Georgia you see in travel photos, not the bright city lights and polished streets people imagine. I'm talking about the quiet corners, the forgotten neighborhoods, the places where dreams are small because survival takes up most of the space. She grew up in a tiny house with a leaking roof and walls so thin that winter winds whispered through them like ghosts. Her childhood didn't have luxury, it had struggle. While other kids talked about toys and vacations, she talked about helping her mother count coins at the kitchen table. Coins that would decide whether they ate properly that week or not. But even in that small house, even in that life of struggle, she had something powerful, a dream. Not a dream of becoming famous, not a dream of becoming rich. Her dream was simple. She wanted love, real love, the kind of love where someone looks at you and sees your scars, your struggles, your broken pieces, and still says you're enough. Have you ever had that dream? Where you believe one person will come into your life and change everything. Because when you grow up poor, love doesn't feel like a luxury, it feels like salvation. And one day, she met him. He walked into her life the way sunlight walks into a dark room. At first, she didn't even believe it. Someone like him, noticing someone like her, he spoke kindly. He listened carefully. He made her laugh in ways she hadn't laughed in years. For the first time in her life, she felt seen, not as the poor girl from the broken house, but as a woman. And that feeling is dangerous, because when someone who has lived in emotional darkness finally experiences warmth, they hold on to it with everything they have. He told her things she had never heard before. You deserve better. You're stronger than you think. One day, we'll build a life together. And those words, they weren't just words to her. They were oxygen. They were hope. You see, people who have always had comfort often take love lightly. But when someone has lived their whole life fighting for dignity, every promise feels sacred. Every smile feels real. Every touch feels like destiny. Weeks turned into months. She began to believe something she had never believed before. Maybe life was finally changing. Maybe all those years of struggle were just preparation for something beautiful. Maybe, just maybe, this man was the answer to every lonely night she had cried herself to sleep. And slowly, she began building her future around him. She trusted him, she defended him, she believed in him, even when some people warned her, even when small things didn't quite make sense. Have you ever ignored your intuition because your heart was louder? Because when love speaks loudly, truth often whispers, but the heart, the hopeful heart, rarely listens to whispers. Then came the night that would destroy everything, the night her dream broke, not gradually, not gently, in one single moment. You see, betrayal rarely announces itself politely. It doesn't knock on the door and say, "Prepare yourself." It arrives like a storm, sudden, violent, unforgiving. That evening started like many others. She was excited. He had invited her to meet him somewhere special. Her heart was racing with hope. Maybe tonight he would talk about the future. Maybe tonight he would make a promise that would change everything. She wore the best dress she owned. Not expensive, not glamorous. But to her, it felt beautiful because she believed she was dressing for the man who loved her. But life has a cruel way of revealing truth at the exact moment you feel most hopeful. When she arrived, she saw something. Something that froze her heart. Something that made her question every memory, every promise, every moment they had shared. Across the room, he wasn't alone, and in that single moment, the dream she had built for years began to collapse, not slowly, but like glass hitting the floor, shattering into pieces she didn't yet know how to survive. And what happened next? what she heard, what she realized about love, trust, and human nature would change the way she saw relationships forever. Because sometimes the most painful lesson in life is discovering that the person you trusted with your heart was never protecting it. They were only borrowing it. And in the next moment, she would hear words that would prove it, words that would turn a poor girl's dream into the hardest awakening of her life. She stood there, frozen. The room was full of voices, laughter, music, but to her, everything suddenly sounded distant, like she had been pushed underwater while the rest of the world continued breathing above the surface. Across the room, he was sitting at a table, and next to him, another woman, not just sitting beside him, close, comfortable, the kind of closeness that doesn't need explanation, because the truth is already written in the silence between two people. For a moment, she told herself she was misunderstanding. Have you ever done that? When your heart starts breaking, but your mind desperately searches for excuses? Maybe it's his sister. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe there's a reason. Hope is strange like that. Even when the truth is standing right in front of you, hope keeps trying to rewrite the story. She took a step closer, then another. Her heart was beating so hard she could feel it in her throat, and then she heard his voice, clear, unmistakable, laughing. The same laugh he used when he talked to her, when he promised her a future, when he looked into her eyes and said she was the only one who understood him. But the words that came next shattered everything, because the woman beside him asked a simple question. Who keeps calling your phone? He smiled, not nervously, not guiltily, calmly, and then he said something that felt like a knife sliding into her chest. Oh, that? That's just a girl who thinks we're in love. Just a girl, just a girl. 4 small words that erased months of memories, months of trust, months of dreams she had carefully built in her heart. In that moment, something inside her cracked, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, like the sound of glass breaking in another room. She didn't walk up to him. She didn't scream. She didn't cry in front of everyone. Because sometimes the deepest pain doesn't explode, it freezes you. She simply turned around and walked away, step by step, out of the restaurant, out of the light, out into the cold night air. And that's when the tears finally came. Not gentle tears, not quiet tears, the kind that shake your entire body, the kind that make you question everything. Was any of it real? Did he ever love me? Was I just convenient? Those questions echoed in her mind like thunder. But here's the truth most people never tell you about heartbreak. The real pain isn't losing someone. The real pain is losing the version of life you imagined with them, the future you pictured, the home you dreamed of, the moments that were supposed to happen, all gone in one night. She walked for hours that evening, through dark streets, past bright windows filled with happy couples, and every step felt heavier than the last. Because when your heart breaks, the whole world suddenly feels unfamiliar. But somewhere during that long walk, something unexpected happened. The tears slowed, the shaking stopped, and a strange question appeared in her mind, not about him, about herself. Why did I believe someone else was responsible for my happiness? Think about that for a moment. How many people build their entire emotional world around one person? How many people believe their worth depends on whether someone chooses them? You see, that night didn't just break her heart, it woke her up. Because for the first time in her life, she realized something powerful. Love should never feel like survival. Love should never require you to shrink your dignity. And love should never make you feel like you're lucky just to be chosen. Real love recognizes your value before you even question it. That poor girl from Georgia, the one who grew up counting coins at the kitchen table, finally understood something wealthier people sometimes never learn. Self-respect is more valuable than affection from the wrong person, because the truth is, some people don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with how easily you forgive them. They fall in love with how much you tolerate. They fall in love with the fact that you believe their promises, even when their actions quietly betray them. But that night, the girl who once believed love would save her discovered something stronger. She didn't need saving, she needed awakening. And heartbreak, painful as it is, can sometimes be the loudest awakening life gives you. The next morning, she woke up in the same small house, the same thin walls, the same leaking roof. Nothing in her life had changed, and yet, everything had changed. Because the girl who woke up that morning wasn't the same girl who walked into that restaurant the night before. The dream had broken, yes, but something else had been born in its place: clarity, strength, and a quiet promise she whispered to herself while looking in the mirror: "Never again will I beg someone to see my worth." Because here's the truth I want you to understand. Sometimes the worst night of your life becomes the beginning of your strongest chapter. Sometimes betrayal isn't the end of your story, it's the moment your real story begins. And the girl who once believed she needed someone to complete her life slowly began building a life that no one could destroy. A life where love would no longer be desperation, but a choice. And when you reach that point in life, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing people who can't see your value. And suddenly, the right people start noticing it. So if your heart has ever been broken, if someone ever made you feel like you were just a girl, or just a guy, or just an option, remember this: your dream didn't break, it evolved. Because sometimes the person who destroys your illusion is actually the person who frees you from it. Now tell me something honestly.